welcome to another episode of Tomorrow by Design. I'll ask you this. Have you ever been in a space or place and thought, you know what this place reminds me of? It reminds me of my place back home in the Bundos, or a different place altogether. Well, in this episode, with guest Roy Githaiga, we try and take a stab at articulating why this happens and how we can better integrate culture in future projects within the built environment. Let's get into it. Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Tomorrow by Design. Today, this being the second episode of season 2, very young episode, very excited about a couple of things that we have planned for you guys in terms of the guests that we're having, a new thing that we're having in this season that we didn't have last season. And yes, there's basically a lot more to learn from that. But anyways, I'm not doing this alone. I am with my co-hosts over here. Co-host in the house, make some noise. Whoop.
Whoop. Yeah, I'm a very obedient co-host, so that's the only noise I'm allowed to make because I've been given a yellow card. Over to you in the other studio. Wait, are we even introducing names or we're just saying other co-hosts?
Other co-hosts. In case you don't already know.
Okay, and I'm Lian. Referee.
Yeah.
How are you the referee and you're the one getting yellow cards?
I'm handing over to the ref.
Oh, I thought you were introducing yourself as the ref. That's me, right? That's me now.
Yes, that's Anna on the mic.
Co-host number 3, also known as referee. This is Agesa Ani in the scene.
Whoop.
Yeah, throwing the ball to co-host 4. Whoop whoop.
Co-host over here. I don't like that. I like host. I like host better. I don't like that co.
Wow, not very subtle.
Sitting here, excited for episode 2 of season 2,
Whoop.
22. Yeah,
but yes, whoop.
Yeah, culture-centered design.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited, guys. I'm excited.
Oh yeah. I'm trying to figure out what that means now with our buildings. If there's something that we've had from the previous conversations, and something that we can agree at is that you can tell a difference between the buildings that are there today, speaking about Nairobi, and the buildings that were there Kitambo, the likes of Kina KICC. I think Kenya Towers is one of them. Is this you can feel like a sense of traditional Nairobi over there. You can say like this is like Kenya.
And I know what are these guys called? Capital and GTC are running a campaign where you take a photo of yourself in a location in Nairobi. You can either post it like a new one or an old one, just as long as you explain what it is. Is it a building? Is it So interesting to see what that would look like once it culminates in a gallery showing at the GTC.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow. That's interesting.
Oh, that sounds really cool.
Right?
Okay. Let me drop a random little fun fact. So the other day I discovered that one of the first buildings that were set up when, Nairobi became, let's say, not really a city, but like a major town in the colonial times. So like 1901, picture it. One of the first buildings that was set up was Nairobi Club and like at the Ngong Race Course.
Ah.
Wow.
Yep.
Guys,
we
go
were
for
like,
a field trip.
everything should wait. We need space for enjoyment. Bring it.
Yes, enjoyment.
So that's one of the much older historical buildings that we've never really thought about, Nairobi Club. Yes, fun facts.
Okay. The more you know.
Yeah,
I'm insisting on
and enjoyment is definitely part of the culture in this.
Yes,
Nairobi
for the
city.
culture.
Yes.
I see what you did there.
Culture.
But you'll dub Maze.
Oh my gosh. Guys, I think it's time we introduce our host, our guest.
Yep. So to help us
Everything
understand
about the culture.
Yep. So to help us understand about culture and what that looks like in the built environment and the design of the built environment for tomorrow, we have a guest and one, if I may do say so myself, one of the dear guest. My God. Took me out of the flow, Maze.
I apologize. I am back into it.
No worries. So, one of the people that I see as one of my favorite people within the built environment, and I do not use that word often, so that's heavy. An architect, a researcher, a man who knows quite a lot about the space, hence him being here. the one, the only Roy Githaiga. Whoop.
Hey, you guys and your sounds. I think first I'd say thank you very much. I mean, I'm thrilled to be here. When Louis was telling me about TBD very early on the onset and this podcast, I was actually very excited to see what you guys are going to come up with, and I'm happy that I'm part of your episodes. And actually, essentially about culture-centered design and architecture, vernacular architecture and everything. So we can get into that and we can talk about that. So thank you very much for having me.
Great. Well, we're happy to have you.
Mhm.
Pleasure to be here experiencing the culture with you. Hiyo story ya culture nitaforce, you
Maze?
just wait.
Maze?
You better
Actually,
force it.
Johnny, image gani tutatumia for this episode? I'll share with you. Yeah. Already see it. So, anyways, so let's get straight into it. The significance of cultural heritage. Lian, mind taking it over from here?
Oh, yeah. So, first of all, I'm really curious how you got into that particular field because it's very niche. Maybe you can let us know how.
Okay. So funny thing is, the how is, how can I put it? It's different. So to be honest, I found myself kind of gravitating to cultural heritage very early before I even decided to kind of, let's say, quote unquote, dedicate my life to architecture. So growing up, I would always question why we never had a clear-cut cultural difference. And I guess, and I don't know whether that kind of makes sense to that point, but I guess it also came from the simple notion that it's normal to do something in particular. Perhaps it's because that's all we knew at the time,
Yeah.
So, but then I think that there were moments where my grandfather would kind of sit with me and also like explain to me the significance of my name. So Githaiga, my last name, has two connotations to it, and I had to learn what that really means towards, my own cultural heritage, right? And we'll get back into the significance of my name because it's really embedded in, I guess, even the career that I decided to kind of go through. So, yeah, to a point. So as I began my career, I can only openly say to a point that I was a bit naive to the comings and goings in architecture, as many are, let's be honest, because all you want to do is design a building and get paid, right?
Yeah.
But the moment I was exposed to like different cultures outside Kenya, to a point, drastically changed my perspectives. So when I got the chance to travel, so I went to two different places to study and to live. So I lived in Malaysia for about 3 years, maybe 2.75 years, and in Australia for around the same amount of time. So that kind of I began to see that interest spark through this exposure, right? Which I found definitely goes beyond that form of education. So between my time when I was in Malaysia and coming to Kenya, between Malaysia and Australia, I was in Kenya for about maybe 2 years, which for me was like, okay, I think I need to go and experience culture again. I need to go experience a different livelihood, So that's when I went to Australia. But then there was this, if I can say, maybe like a connotation with regards to the unknown, right? And Aborigines in Australia or maybe let's say in the Southeast Peninsula. So we're talking about Australia, New Zealand. People never had a positive connotation towards them, and if you ask anyone who doesn't know necessarily how these people act and how they are, you'd hear anything from cannibalism to danger to security.
Really?
Oh yeah. So when I was going to Australia, that's the first thing I was told. Stay away from Aborigines because they can be dangerous. Your life will be, and so I went there with that naivete. Oh, I mean, anything in Australia wants to kill you.
Yep.
People also lumped into the same group.
Yeah, but you see, I think it's also that the freedom of understanding that different cultures have different backgrounds. They have different, how can I put it? understanding of who they really are.
Yeah.
So the realization that I was very naive in the beginning made me begin to understand that architecture goes beyond even materiality. So when I can get deeper into that to a point, but I realized that architecture only exists when certain elements are brought together in a particular way that begins to evoke certain emotions. So when you look at culture, when you look at architecture, when you look at the built environment, there are certain things, when you look at the building, you go like, wow, that's a beautiful building.
Yeah.
There's a reason why you're standing outside that building and looking at it and going, that is beauty. So you're experiencing it from an outsider's perspective looking in, you know?
Yes.
So like another thing that I also recently, I guess maybe in the past 2 years, connected me, you know, this going through the fact that I've been doing research on culture and communities, and both in, well, more or less like in Kenya, in Australia, in Malaysia, in other places that I traveled to. So when I came back to the country, obviously I came back during 2020 COVID, landlocked and things, but then I also, for some reason, found myself connected to like-minded practitioners in Kenya.
Nice.
Who I think through that I also gained a mentor who constantly asks me questions to make me think and review the industry more and more. So there are certain decisions that I have made within within my practice in Kenya, but then also within like my understanding of what culture is through these type of collaborations, you know, and the understanding of past and present. Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. Quite. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Go ahead.
So I have a question. I think you've mentioned that you've been to different places and it kind of heightened how you think about culture, how you perceive culture, right?
Yeah.
So coming back to Kenya, would you say that Nairobi, how do I put this? Is there any culture reflected in our built environment? Would you say like there's some buildings you'd see and you're like, that's wildly Nairobian, like this is extremely Kenyan or something like that? Is there any culture that has some of our buildings together, or are we just heavily influenced by the West or something? Yeah.
The thing about metropolitan cities, and this is not a Kenyan problem by the way, yeah, metropolitan cities all over the world are influenced by what they what they deem as influential.
Yeah.
So in different places you'll find that they like, okay, let me put it this way, like in places like Peru, we have like, you know, South American cities, you have some Australian cities as well. You'll find that because they realize culture is very important within themselves, right, that they express that culture through their buildings. Now, the problem we have in Kenya is that what we deem very important or very influential has very little to do with our core beliefs in our culture. So that also reflects to our buildings. It reflects to our Nairobi, you know how we say, quote unquote, the Nairobi culture.
Yeah.
So the Nairobi culture is not necessarily pegged on who we are inherently. It's only pegged with what is influencing us. So what we see online, TikTok, whatever, you know, what influences us to, you know.
It's like Nairobi culture is contemporary. What's happening now?
Nairobi culture is very contemporary, but it's also very reflective of what is going on right now. Yeah. So if I was to answer your question in not so many words, I do not see a clear-cut cultural symbolism or clear-cut cultural symbolism within Nairobi that suggests our heritage.
Okay, so cool. So then how do we then bridge the gap between that reflectiveness and what was there before all the influences came about?
That's a tricky one, but let me first begin by saying that striking a balance between like honoring the past and embracing the future is very delicate, but it's also very essential it's a very essential aspect of cultural evolution.
Yeah.
So, like, the significance of cultural heritage lies in its ability to connect us to our roots. So, I'm trying to remember which architect said this or which researcher said this. In order for us to move forward, we have to have a foot in the past so we can understand where we're going, because a journey starts from one point, but we're not at the beginning of this journey, right?
No.
We are somewhere in between.
Yeah.
But we have lost our way somehow, in one way or one way or the other. So if we do not put one foot in the past and understand how things were done and the reasons why they were done that way, we will continue kind of deviating onto the wrong path, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that I guess would help bridge that gap, well, there are a couple of things, but I would say education and awareness, right?
Yeah.
Everything starts from a point of knowledge, whether it's institutionalized knowledge or something that is embedded within your own culture, within your own being. If your grandfather told you something and you know it's true, and you tell your children and children tell your grandchildren, that is transferable knowledge down the line. So it's not education, it's not, systematic in terms of how people go to school, but it's information that is passed down from generation to generation. And that's what we call intangible education, intangible cultural heritage, right?
Yeah.
Tangible education is what you go to school to learn. What we learned in school, GHC. I know some of y'all are young, so social studies, let me say that.
Hey, that's a sensitive topic, Roy. You may be
sorry,
stepping on toes out here.
I'm clearly speaking out to my age by the but this, with that type of education comes inclusivity and diversity, because we're celebrating the diversity within cultural heritage.
Yeah.
Recognizing and supporting, promoting different cultural expressions, ensuring that no single narrative dominates the representation of heritage. And you see, that's a problem. Even going back to the question of, do we have a specific culture in Nairobi? Because the problem is, we have over the last, I would say 50 years, right? What has dominated the representation of heritage in Nairobi or in Kenya per se has nothing to do with our inherent cultural heritage.
True.
You see?
Right.
So how do we do that as well? We need to start documenting our culture, and then we need to start preserving that culture, creating safeguards, through that integrity and knowledge of future generations. Yeah. And now in the next step is restoring this cultural heritage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So creating, going through, historical sites and artifacts, traditions, and also intangible cultural practices, as I said earlier. Those are the things that need to be documented. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Now, through that, while you're doing restoration, you need to bring in community, because who is going to do this work?
Oh, it's actually with the community, yeah.
Yeah, it has to go with the community. And remember, this is very contextual, right? So if I'm doing something, let's say in Western Kenya, that has very heavy cultural connotation, yeah, I can only work with the community in that area, because they're the ones who are going to respect the preservation and restoration of that culture, because it is who they are, Then start looking at now like adaptive reuse and sustainable development. So looking at old buildings, how you can repurpose them, not tearing them down and starting afresh, which has always been the problem in Kenya. Right? So embrace adaptive reuse and sustainability practices in architecture, urban planning. Like now they're doing. I don't know whether you guys have seen this. There's the new design for the railway station.
No, I haven't seen this yet.
Yeah. So last week I went for one of the presentations, and one of the things that they're doing is that they're using this adaptive reuse structure. So they're maintaining a lot of the old building, but embedding it within new architecture, right? So when you start looking at those, I guess, like a narrative like that, you're reusing an old building, So you're not bringing in new materials that are going to, I guess, also, affect the natural environment, because there's a structure that is already existing.
Yeah.
So what you're doing in this, I guess, restoration period or the evolution is repurposing structures.
I'm curious, will they, with the new buildings that will come up, will they be completely different in terms of design language, kind of like what they've done with University of Nairobi? The new buildings look really different. Or Kenya High. Like it's you can tell, like it just feels out of place. Or there's
Let me tell you why it feels out of place.
Sorry?
Let me tell you why it feels out of place. We are so used to a specific type of architecture, a specific type of look and feel, that when something is different, something that is different is introduced to, I guess, the system, we are quick to judge, or we are quick to question that it doesn't look like something that is, inherently Kenyan. But we have nothing that is inherently Kenyan to even begin with. So,
that's true.
You see what I mean? So you look at the different structures. I mean, I'm not saying that they're all perfect. I mean, I have my reservations on a couple of them. But what I'm saying is there's a clear shift that is creating this understanding of we cannot keep doing things the same way, right?
Yeah.
Because if we keep doing the same things the same way, and then we still say that we need change, we're never going to see that change. So how do you affect people's mindset into creating something new that they don't have any background in? And that's what we're talking about. You need to start educating these people. You need to start showing them that this is happening. One thing before I forget, we also need to leverage technology, because you can never dismiss technology. And what I mean by this is creating things like virtual tours and digital archives, right? The benefit for this is that it can make heritage accessible to a wider audience.
Yeah.
Because we may want to do something here in Nairobi, but it's not being done in Wajir, or it's not being done in Lamu, or it's not being done, you know what I mean? So once we start leveraging this technology and integrating this technology, means that we can start influencing other different wider audiences that are not within the same context we're in. And the benefit about that, because it's very scalable, they can start emulating the processes or the methodologies and then now create for themselves.
Yeah.
So that's bringing in that, let me put it this way, international cooperation of sorts.
Okay.
Because this is respectfully sharing knowledge that may help preserving a shared heritage. Because you'll find that, and I've noticed this through some of the research that I've done in the past, you'll find that back in the day, how our forefathers used to build houses, irrespective of the fact that they were not connected physically, they had a shared knowledge, a shared heritage knowledge, right? So by starting to look at those traits, those similarities in the traits, the differences in those traits, you start to see that we need to start preserving this shared heritage, because that's the only way also in Kenya we can start solving things like tribalism. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So when we're talking about this heritage, it's, I mean, probably the topic we're talking about today is within the built environment, but it's a wider thing. It's bigger than the built environment, to be fairly honest.
Yeah, I actually absolutely agree with so much that you've said, mostly because I think you've brought out two things that I can say are significant when it comes to our culture, which is oral literature and community, like Ujami, Nyayo, Ujamaa, all that.
Oh yeah.
I think those are really heavy parts of our culture, and they're also something that's really easy to lose, because oral literature, if we don't pass it down, if our grandfathers, our fathers don't tell us what our names mean, we won't ever maybe know what we were meant to do, because African names have power and stuff like that.
Oh, they do.
So when it comes to now the built environment and everything, and what you're talking about, like documenting, preserving, restoring, those things are what will help us, have that wider reach. And I think you really phrased it well.
Yep.
You know what's very big? You know what's very big in Kenya? Utumishi kwa wote. It's something very small that people forget. But utumishi kwa wote is service.
Cool.
Anyone who comes to Kenya always says this. The service in Kenya is different. Because how we were brought up to serve people is different. It has nothing to do with colonization. It just means that we have there's a respect we have to either our elders or visitors that needs to be given a shining light. It's just one of the things that I've been going through and wondering how we can do that. But yeah.
Okay, all right. I mean, what you're saying is I agree with that totally. Especially there's one thing that I'm thinking about. This thing that I've been seeing around Nairobi that I like that I don't know if you've seen this, and I think you can also help me out with this. There's this thing that guys have been doing. I think it's called place marking. My guys tag different places in Nairobi with they'll do graffiti art basically over there, and they all have something to do with they're telling a story in time in history that Nairobi or Kenya in general had gone through, and I find that really intriguing. Especially for somebody, I can imagine for somebody who's visiting Nairobi for the first time, they get to experience the city through these stories as they're walking along, and also a way of also for the citizens themselves reminiscing, seeing what it is that we've been through in the different parts of Nairobi, and seeing where we're going. Just referencing back to the quote that you actually had mentioned, something to think about, words to live by over there. For you to move forward, you have to have your foot in the past, or something like that.
Yeah.
I think that's actually a really cool initiative that a lot of artists are jumping on.
Yep.
So, for example, some guys that I work with called Creative Skills organized there was this painting exercise on is it Kenyatta Avenue, where the dustbins are painted, the planters are all tribal patterns, and then
the crosswalks,
the graffiti art of Chuge. And at that time, he hadn't even done the emails. No human is limited.
Yeah.
He hadn't done.
Well, I remember that also. Yeah.
Yeah, Kitabi is so rooted in whatever tribe, culture, race, whatever you are in Kenya, you know what to do.
Oh yeah.
So now, after the whole emails thing, and now any visitors, any guests we have, often when they see that, they're like, oh no, we know this guy. It's Kipke, like stuck in the middle of Nairobi city, in the middle of blues and greens. It looks like we know our culture. We know it now. We are using what has always been, but we are putting in almost like digital art on a wall. You feel me? I'm trying to say. I think that's a way that artists in our cities, it's almost a trend in Eldoret, Kuru, Nairobi. Artists in our city are using the built environment to also show cultural heritage. So the way they tell the story, you can see whatever it is that they are rooted in, their creativity, it comes so easily as Kenyan and futuristic, but the past is right there and it's telling us. Yes, I would love that to come out more in our built environment. Actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and even in songs, kind of like the way there are certain songs they mention locations. So over time, if certain places go, let's say like shops or stores go out of style, let's say like a Nakumat or a Java, you're like, hey, there was a time people couldn't afford Java. But now, look at us. But hey, look at me. So yeah, I think there's other avenues for artists to also incorporate the built environment and culture or rather immortalize it in a sense. And now just shifting gears a little bit, Roy, could you share some the success stories when it comes to culture-centered design in the built environment? No pressure.
Does that explain it? I think the first, before we even go to like successes, the reason why I always say let's put our foot in the back in the past so that we can also understand where we're going is that there have been challenges, and challenges come with everything that is unknown or unusual to I guess, the general masses, you know, if I can put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And the main problem comes from a lack of education. And I can tell you that I've had moments where I realized within myself that I even needed to learn new things, right?
Mhm.
So I mentioned the story about how when I was going to Australia, I was told that these people are cannibals and blah, blah, blah. You need to be very honest and you need to be very safe. Don't go to where they are. And the house that I moved to was literally by the, I guess, if I can put it, by the perimeter of like where the Aboriginal communities used to live. Because my school wasn't too far away from there anyway. So to me, it didn't really make a difference. But I can tell you the best experiences I've had in my life till date was me having to sit down with the custodian of art in Western Australia, who's an Aboriginal man.
Oh, wow.
And I had a couple of days with him, and he would speak to me about his problems, his troubles, his challenges in life. He's seen people die. He's seen people, you know, be in prison. His own son was killed through the understanding of cultural heritage. And we're talking about Australia that is maybe 15 years ahead of Kenya. So when we're talking, when we start to talk about culture-centered design and cultural heritage, what I'm doing right now, and people like-minded like myself, we are just creating the foundations.
Yeah.
You know, I like to call myself a student of culture and heritage, you know. And I've had people like Louis calling me an expert, but sometimes I just tell myself, listen, I am a student of culture and heritage. Because I'm still trying to understand my own culture, right? But even through that understanding, there were two projects that we did. And these two projects happened in Australia. There was through this, the Aboriginal community leader, there was a museum that is called Damburtang, Damburtang, Damburtang. I'll share with you the information. So what they did, or what they wanted us to do, was come up with a museum space for their culture, for their community, because they needed space to showcase their own art. You know, Aboriginal Australians are inherently artists, and I think you've seen this with the type of art they do. It's beautiful. It's breathtaking art. Yeah.
Yeah.
And because that's who they are, and they have this clean connection to the art, the ground. So even their buildings and their understanding of what architecture should be has a name. Yeah. I don't want to get into those cultural names right now, but they have given all these things names, and they've given them culturally strong names, you know, that go back thousands of years, right? So creating this, you know, kind of presenting and designing a space for their community to come and showcase their art, which was primarily done by women, by the way, you know.
Okay.
Which is something else that we can never forget. You know, women and children now, you hear people talking about women and children, and maybe people go like, but why? We'll get into that later. But when you start to talk about culture-strong communities, you'll see that there are certain things within these communities that they're very good at. And so we designed a space for them, and it was through this, I guess, through this design, through this understanding of who they really are, also got me a nomination for an award because of the kind of work that I was doing with them, you know. Yeah, and I also kind of through my thesis as well, and through my my study, because I was still in Australia, but I'm looking at designing, you know, quality of space.
Yeah.
And I chose Kibera as one of my sites. And I came to learn that the space that I selected was a school, so I designed a school in Kibera. When I came back to Kenya, I presented this design to the company that was awarded the work to do, I wouldn't call it the tender, but they were given a job to kind of design the space. So I presented my work to them. And I could see their eyes glow. You know, I'm oh my God. We have never thought about this. Never thought about this. But then you see also, we're in Kenya. So the problem is, are you going to design something that goes completely out of the norm? And then all of a sudden, your funds are cut off. So that was where the problem came. Yeah. So there are always proper lessons, and then there are always challenges. So anyway, that's a cultural shift.
Yeah.
Then there was another project that I did that I worked with the community in a place called Bayswater. That was north of the river in Perth, and they were trying to create this culture-centered, like a community town center.
So Bayswater was generally a project in Western Australia that was trying to revitalize the streetscape or the town center of a specific community. And that road was leading towards a major train station, like a train stop per se. And Louis, you mentioned something about placemaking. So that was one of the things that we ended up working with the community about.
Oh, okay.
So we started learning things like culture-centered design in a whole other level. Because this is what I see, this is what I think, how I categorize it. Culture-centered design is more macro. You're looking at it from a macro vision. But then coming down to the nitbits is now human-centered design. So HCD is one of the learnings that we kind of went around, you know, when you're asking community questions and you're talking to them about what they really need, you know, how to slow down traffic, how to, you know, make that space look beautiful and all these things. So we ended up doing this whole art piece on like there's a long wall. It was about 150 meters. And that was painted by children of that community. It was beautiful. But then it's just one of those things that you start to understand that local communities actually really need specific things when they're shown the benefit of what they can actually have. So that is what we started to learn at the time, and we understood that at the time. So I started bringing all these things that I was learning from Damburtang to Bayswater, even within my thesis. And that was now, all that work was all just now collected, and I was nominated for an award, you know, in Australia. So that was fun.
Oh yeah, must have been.
Yeah,
I mean, you got an award for it.
Yeah.
What you nominated for? Can you please tell us?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I can say this for a fact. It's something that I would not have thought that I would be, you know, exposed to. But you see, it's that thing for exposure. Again, maybe it's a thing that Kenyans really need to say that, oh, for us to be better, we need to be exposed. I feel like, no, we can actually use people who've been exposed to show us how things can be done. All these benchmarking things, this is now me just being a hater, I guess. All these benchmarking things that the government keeps doing, it's just a waste of taxpayers' money.
Preach.
The reason I say that, there's so many exposed people locally right now. You can build a knowledge base from these people. All you have to do is just give them the opportunity to do that. You know, and they will gladly do it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's just my 2 cents of hating on the government, but yes.
Well, it was well
Right, I think-
worth those cents.
Which award were you nominated for? I'm so curious.
Sorry?
Which award were you nominated for?
Oh, so it's the, okay, how can I put it? It's the Award of Excellence in Australia. So it's normally awarded to, I guess, students who are just graduating. So it's given to those students who have shown that they have a zeal for, a few specific things. But then the reason why I showcase that nomination is because it's given to a very few select people. So in the whole country, they select their 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 states, if I'm not wrong. Each state is only given 2 students. So in all of Western Australia, we were 4. So in all of Western Australia, we were 4. And my friend is one who won it, good for her. But so I was just below her. So I was the second. I was the runners up.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Okay, right. As a total call to action, how would you suggest that designers and developers include cultural design in the design process? Should they include it in feasibility, or where exactly do you think would be the best place to extract impact at a really accessible level for yeah?
Just repeat that question again. There's a small bit I didn't get.
Okay. As a sort of low-hanging fruit or call to action sort of thing, how do you believe, or how do you think developers or people who are trying to implement culture-centered design into their buildings, into their developments, how should they start trying to implement these principles? Should it be like a section in sort of the feasibility study where they research among the community what their culture is and what should be done? Because
right.
Yeah, sure.
You're right. I think you've mentioned it. So you see, the way I've mentioned a lot about education and training. So this research is also part of education and training, right? So I guess practitioners in the built environment should really invest in research and innovation, especially if it's related to heritage preservation and sustainable design. Because this can lead to like developing new technologies, materials, methodologies, enhancing the effectiveness of these preservation efforts. So I guess it also comes back to the thing that I was saying earlier, tumezoea something so much that we do not want to change, right? So the moment we start to see that, there's something that is coming that is a bit different, how do we do this? So the problem is also we do not have centers for research and development in Kenya specifically when it comes to built environment practitioners. We have very few guys who are doing it in isolation. And I can put it that way. We have very few people who are doing it in isolation. But the problem is our policies and regulations don't have an arm that talks about research so that is not there, right? We also need to create this public awareness and advocacy. So just raising public awareness about the importance of heritage is something that sometimes it can look like it's something very small, but engaging in advocacy efforts to promote these values is to a societal level, by the way. See, you're going to the newspaper, it won't help, but go to the society. I'm serious. Go to the societies, go to communities, and give them this public awareness and advocacy issues, and also create a knowledge sharing platform for them. Because, and I say this specifically, you're creating it for them. It's not for you.
So all that jargon and lingo needs to be toned down when you're creating it for people.
Exactly. Because let me ask you this. How many meetings and webinars do we go to on a yearly basis as, let's say, advocacy people like us at, even Louis, this very well. We go for so many webinars. The problem is a lot of this work remains in isolation. So, and then when it comes to like talking about, we need to do, what's it called?
Like public participation or something like that.
Sensitization.
Public participation and sensitization to who? Will you go do public participation and sensitization up in the Intercontinental Hotel? Who are you helping?
Exactly.
Who is your target audience? It's not included, So these knowledge sharing platforms should be for the community. Forum for the common Mwananchi, and I call them stakeholders of this culture and this heritage. They are the stakeholders of heritage. And that's when you remember when I was earlier saying that women and children are the ones who used to build these things. They used to be part of the arts. They used to do all this. There's a specific reason why. Now, I'll go into a very short story period. When I guess even in the States, South America, Australia, whatever it is, even here in Africa, when we were fighting for independence, the men went to fight the wars.
Yeah, that's true.
So looking at who was left to till the land, to maintain culture, to maintain the heritage, to build the houses, whatever it was, to construct huts, to do all that, it was the women.
Yep.
And the benefit for that is the children learned from their mothers and their aunties and their older sisters and the likes. So children should never be forgotten through this. And I'm saying children collectively because there are also male children in there. But there's a reason why I'm saying men.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Because men were out fighting the wars. So it comes to the point when even the men came back from fighting the wars on Apata, they find that houses have been built. Things have been changed. There's a system that has been put in place because barter trade was originally a woman's trade. It had nothing to do with the man because the man was never there.
Yep.
Okay.
So when you start to look at things like those, you cannot forget the necessity and the influence that a woman has in everyone's life.
Yeah.
And not just has now, had back then, has today, and will have tomorrow. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's very interesting to note that a lot of the people in these sustainability positions who drive sustainability in companies and sectors are women. A lot of them, a huge chunk.
You know why? Also, I've noticed this. It's something that I guess maybe it's a larger conversation, but when it comes to empathy, women have more empathy than men. When it comes to when you say that I feel someone's emotions, I can feel it's not a bad thing. And I feel like people need to get out of this connotation of equity and equality when it comes to talking about women and feelings. Women and feelings as nothing. It's not a wrong connotation. It is what it is. It's the truth. Right? Now, the problem comes in when there is now this whole, wokeness about, we have to do this, we have to do that. That one has its own stage.
Yeah.
Right? And so when we're talking about this, when empathy, just the emotional connection to communities, you'll find that when a man is going to site somewhere, talking to communities, talking to anakuja na kiburi, kifua mbele, it happens so many times, and I've seen it so many times, right? But when a lady is doing the same job, there you go. It's a very heavy spiritual commitment and connection to even the local communities. So when you're talking to people, when you're driving this, this I guess, how can I put it? These structures on sustainability, preservation, heritage, culture, cultural awareness, women have to be at the center of this.
Yeah.
Have to. The moment you remove a woman from this, you've already lost the plot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And you can quote me on that.
I'm gonna link that GIF for not GIF, the meme for Makofi. Yeah, I love that one.
Yep.
So I'm curious you've mentioned like-minded people being in isolation. And, but somehow you manage to get your own community. So how can all these people in different pockets but have sort of the same vision, and it kind of collides at some point with the sustainability culture? How can they get to find each other?
We have to remove pride from the topic. That's always a problem. The problem with, there are certain institutions that are funding this type of research and development that could be Kenyan, but most of them are not. And then you come and say that there's also some work that needs to be done. Someone has done the research, this one has done the research, this one has done the research in isolation, but you do not want to relinquish your rights of ownership, by sharing. And that's why I say knowledge sharing is very important, right? These platforms of knowledge sharing. So you can look at it from two different levels. So, from us as practitioners and how we are supposed to kind of connect this information, we need to be able to get to a point where maybe 20, 30% of the work that we do, the research that we do, is open sourced. That way, anyone who is interested, because, and I say this very carefully, the work that we do is not just for built environment practitioners. It's also for built environment, what are they called? People who are interested in the built environment. You could be a doctor enthusiast. You can be a doctor. You can be a lawyer. You can be someone who didn't even graduate from primary school or high school. But the moment, because we all interact with the built environment one way or the other.
True.
Every day. Yeah. So you have interests in the built environment and you want to know something specific, all you have to do is get on your phone, go to Google, search what you need. And because someone has done the research, it's there.
Yeah.
So you're disseminating this research. You're creating an open sourced point for people to even come in and see and learn. What happens is, what people forget is that the moment people start to see that you're the one who's done this work, you're the one who's going to be known as the expert of this work. So, okay, when you remove that pride of ownership, you start to become the voice of the community.
Okay. And speaking of voice, you mentioned that your grandfather was telling you about what your name means, and you had promised at the beginning. So we are holding you to that.
Yes.
Right before we run out of time, just wrap it up with that, please.
So Githaiga, it's funny that you said that we're running out of time. So Githaiga has two connotations to it. So the first meaning, which is almost direct translation, is a man who keeps time. He's a timekeeper. Yeah. Because of, I guess it's just inherently, that's how I guess my grandfather, and because I'm named exactly after my grandfather. So my grandfather, his grandfather, and the likes, that is the system that we have always followed, right? That's one. The second one, which is now funnier, is a traditional doctor, Mitishamba. Yes.
Okay.
But yes. So which is funny in that it could be a doctor of the soul or a doctor of physical need.
Oh, yeah, or of the built environment.
Or of the built environment, because if something needs to be fixed, who do you go to?
Who you gonna call? Yeah, Daiga.
But yeah, so I'm historically and culturally, with lack of better word, I'm a witch doctor who keeps time.
Time-keeping witch doctor.
This kind.
Dr. Strange for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's Dr. Strange. Yeah.
Yeah, call me Dr. Strange.
No Avengers wamerudi.
Yes.
Has joined the Avengers. Oh yeah,
Alright, I think that's a very solid last wrap up for this. I mean, there are a lot of questions around this that we'd like to ask. I think this warrants us to have another episode where we'll bring Roy back and continue the conversation. I mean, I've thoroughly.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely open for that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, really enjoyed the Nini how this thing has gone. All right, so that wraps up this episode of culture-centered design within the built environment. I hope you learned a lot. If there's anything that you think you'd like to add to the conversation, you can always holler at us on our socials at TBD Kenya on all our socials. It's pretty standard. We'll also have a link. We'll also link to Roy's socials as well. He does articles on LinkedIn quite regularly, very informative. Thanking you again, Roy, for taking the time to be with us and engaging this conversation. It was really fun. It was really fun. Anything else, guys?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The show notes will also be linked to this episode. So in case you want to follow up a particular topic or the museums or the places that Roy was talking about, you'll find them there. All right.